Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see current affairs of 21st November 2025. So let's get started guys. Before getting started I want to make a small announcement. On this Sunday, that is on this 23rd of November at 10 o'clock we are going to have a webinar with UPSC topper who secured this rank of 588 in 2023 of UPSC guys, and he scored very good marks in the optional of anthropology. So if you are choosing this anthropology option and if you want to have lots of insights regarding how to prepare for this anthropology, how to score more, how should be your strategy, everything, you can freely join that webinar at 10 a.m. guys. To join that you have to register and the registration form link is given below, so please do register for that session for free guys on this Sunday. Okay, now let us see the topics of the day. First topic is courts cannot fetter president, governor, says Supreme Court. If you want to understand this article, you have to go back to the Supreme Court judgment in month of May 2025 case. And we are going to see what is that issue, what is that Tamil Nadu issue, what is that other states issues regarding CM and as well as governor, everything. And this topic is important from your polity from GS paper 2. And in our today's newspaper, I found one martial arts image, that is Gatka. You will be getting prelims based questions if you are getting that kind of images in your newspaper. So this topic is important from GS paper 1 under history. And next topic is caste identity influences how teachers judge students in Bihar public schools. It is about one recent study. So this article is talking about caste-based discrimination even in public schools, and this topic is very important from your society from GS paper 2. And next topic is coastal security exercise begins in 2 Tamil Nadu districts. You have to see what is that exercise and what we are going to do in that exercise. That topic is important from GS paper 3 under defense point of view guys, not from IR. And next topic is Bangladeshi boat seized for illegal fishing in Indian waters. So here you have to see about what is this exclusive economic zone. And this topic is important from GS paper 2 under IR and even from GS paper 1 under geography also this article is very important. And next topic is India's fisheries and aquaculture, its promising course. So this article is talking about blue economy, especially we have to see about data regarding fisheries and aquaculture in India, what are the advantages and what are the challenges. And even you have to see what are the schemes government came up to promote this fishing sector in our country. So this topic is important from again economy from GS paper 3 point of view. And apart from this, mostly our today's newspaper is occupied by Bihar elections and success of this Bihar elections and this Nitish Kumar government, everything. So we are going to avoid such kind of articles. It is not at all useful from your UPSC point of view guys. Okay, now let us see the first article. Title says courts cannot fetter president, governor says Supreme Court. So if you want to understand this article, we have to go back to 2024 guys. Okay, now let us see this article clearly. Okay, so this article is talking about Supreme Court and powers of president and governor. So this article's main theme, central crux of this article is Supreme Court is talking something related to powers of president and governor. Okay, now let us go back to the background. If you go back to the background, we have to go to the states. In states, we have BJP ruling states are there and some states are non-BJP ruling states. Yes or no? So in some states we have BJP is in power and some states non-BJP is in power. For example, recently Bihar elections were done and elections counting done, and which government is forming in this Bihar? BJP government. If you see in state of Telangana, which government is in power now? Congress. If you go to Karnataka, again Congress. And like that, even Tamil Nadu, we have non-BJP government is in power. Okay, so that is the one thing that you have to remember. In states, we have certain states are having this BJP is a ruling party. In some states, it is non-BJP parties are ruling. And if you see in the central level, which government is in the power now? In central level, we have BJP party is in power. That is the one thing that you have to remember. So many students, they think that whatever the government which is ruling in the state, the same government will be there in center. No, So states government is different and central government is different. So if you go back to southern states, mostly the southern states are non-BJP ruling states. Okay, if you see in the states, we have chief minister. Who is this chief minister? Elected by the people, right? And we have governor. So who is this governor? Governor is the post appointed by the central government in the state. Why? What is the role of governor? Governor has to ensure that entire state is functioning according to the Constitution of India. That is nothing but, normally governor post is called as gubernatorial post. That means to oversee what is happening in the states, central government will be appointing one person as governor, and for this person there will be no elections. People will not elect him. Only chief minister will be elected by the people, but governor is the person who is appointed by this central government in the states, right? So what happens in the states is, if they want to pass any bill, what is the process of passing any bill, guys? How can we pass a bill in the states? For example, if you take the states, we have unicameral states, and next one is we have bicameral states. Uni means single. What is this unicameral? They have only one house, single house. So what is that single house? State Legislative Assembly in some states. In some states, we have bicameral legislature. That means we have two houses. What are those two houses? We have State Legislative Assembly and we have State Legislative Council. Okay, it is a discretionary of the states. If states want to have the two houses, they can. If they want to have only one house, they can. But at the central level, we have for sure two houses. We have Lok Sabha and we have Rajya Sabha for sure. But for the states, it is their discretion. If they want to have one house, they can. If they want to have two houses, they can. If they are having one house, means they will be having assembly. Two houses means assembly plus council. For example, let us take this two houses as an example. If the state government wants to pass any bill, what is the process? That bill should be placed in the first house. In this first house, they will go for VVD. That is nothing but debate, discussion and voting, DDV. That is, whenever government is placing that bill in the houses, what will be the steps? They will go for debates, on that discussions will happen, and next one is finally voting. So after voting, if that bill is passed in first house, then that bill will be moved to the second house. In the second house also there will be debates, discussions and votings. And after once this bill is passed, where it will goes? It will goes to governor. So what are the options which are present with the governor now? He can directly keep his sign on that bill. This signature is called as assent, A-S-S-E-N-T. Assent is nothing but governor is giving sign, keeping sign on that bill. If that sign had been done by the governor, means that bill will become an act now. So here we have certain choices for this governor. First one is he can directly keep his sign. That is nothing but assent. And next one is he can reject the bill. And next one is he can reserve the bill for president. Okay, he can reserve the bill for president. And next one is withhold the bill. So there are the four choices for the governor. He can give the assent, he can reject the bill, he can reserve the bill for the president, and fourth one is he can withhold. Withhold is nothing but he will not take any action on that bill. So which article talks about these powers of governor? Again, you have to remember one article, that is Article 200 of Indian Constitution talks about this power of governor. Regarding this, what are the choices which are present with this governor? So this is the process of passing of bill, guys. Then what happened is, especially in this non-BJP ruling states, who is the governor? Governor is a central government agent, right? So what he is doing is, he is not passing the bills, especially in state of Tamil Nadu, state of Kerala, in even other non-BJP states also. The problem here is, this governor is not passing the bill, and governor is withholding the bill for long duration of time. He is not taking any action. And what happened in this Tamil Nadu state is they passed important 10 bills in this houses of the state legislature in Tamil Nadu. And after that, they are going to this governor. Governor is stopping that bill to become an act. Then what happened was, again this Tamil Nadu government repassed without any changes in that bill for the second time also. In that second time also, governor started withholding this. So finally, this Tamil Nadu state government, what they did? They went to Supreme Court challenging this Article 200. What is Article 200? What can governor do? So if this kind of withholding of bills is happening, that will not lead to the passage of important bills. If important bills are not passed in this legislature, can they focus on the proper governance? No, that is a question which mainly challenged by Tamil Nadu state government in Supreme Court. At that time, Supreme Court said that yes, governor should give the assent for the bill within 3 months. First thing said by Supreme Court is yes, within 3 months you have to give assent. And next one is here Tamil Nadu government repassed these bills, right? So whenever the second time if government is repassing the same bill, then it will become money bill now. So in this money bill, governor cannot withhold the bill, he have to give the assent for sure. So these are the two things which mainly set by the Supreme Court. And even Supreme Court said about this power of president regarding this reservation of bill for president in this case. So later on what happened, who is our president? Draupadi Murmu. So after this judgment of Supreme Court, our President Draupadi Murmu, she used Article 143. What is Article 143? Anyone? This year there will be a question regarding Article 143. Article 143 is nothing but advisory jurisdiction. President can ask any advice regarding any matters from Supreme Court, guys. That is called as advisory jurisdiction. And after the Supreme Court judgment, now our president used this Article 143 and asked 14 questions to Supreme Court, guys. She asked 14 questions to Supreme Court. And now the present article of today says about answer of Supreme Court to these 14 questions, guys. So if you want to know today's article, you have to know all this background. If you don't know this background, you will not understand what Supreme Court said, why Tamil Nadu government is involved. So what is Article 200, what is Article 201, what is 143, you won't understand anything. So this is the background of this present article. Now let us go into this present article. Let us see what is the answer given by this Supreme Court for those 14 questions. But I took only 5 to 6 major questions which asked in that, guys. Okay, now let us see this article. So if you see this infographic, you will be understanding certain things. Breaking down the court's response to 14 questions raised by President, asking if a constitutional court can impose timelines for governors or president to give assent to the bills passed by legislature. So what I said here, in that judgment of Supreme Court, it said that within 3 months you have to give assent. So now President asked the first important question is, can Supreme Court impose timelines on this governor or president regarding assent of bill? Because nowhere in the constitution it's written about how much time they have to take to give assent. But now Supreme Court said that within 3 months. So it is the right of the Supreme Court or not? That is the first main question asked by this president case. And next one here is Article 200 talks about the powers of governor regarding this giving of assent to the bill. So here under this Article 200, president may give assent. That means he can sign on that bill. Second one is he may withhold assent. And next one is he or she may refer the bill to the president under Article 201. So Article 200 and Article 201 talks about this powers of governor regarding this assent of bill. And this one here is Supreme Court cannot impose the timelines for assent or create a concept of deemed assent under Article 142. So Supreme Court now said that no, it is not the power of Supreme Court to give the timelines. Okay, Supreme Court overturned the judgment of earlier it gave, guys. So because of this, from mains point of view, you will be getting questioned for sure regarding judicial review. Why this judicial review? Judicial review is nothing but whatever the judgment which is given by Supreme Court, it can change the judgment of Supreme Court based on the changing circumstances. That concept is called as judicial review. Recently we discussed about this retrospective environment clearance. In that case also Supreme Court overturned its earlier judgment. And again in this case also it overturned its earlier judgment. So for sure, you will be getting questions regarding this judicial review in your mains this year, guys. You have to be very much careful. And even you may also sometimes get questions regarding this judicial review in your prelims also. You have to be thoroughly go through that judicial review this year, guys. Okay, now let us see the context. A 5-judge constitution bench of Supreme Court of India delivered its opinion on 16th presidential reference under Article 143. So you may get simple question. Article 143 is seen in news, which is related to what? It is related to presidential reference. So this is the first type of question you may get. And second type of question you may get is consider the following statements regarding presidential reference, and they'll give you 3 to 4 statements and they may ask which of the above statements are correct or incorrect, or how many statements are correct or incorrect. In that way also you will be getting question. But you have to be sure shortly should learn about this Article 143 for sure, guys. Okay, now let us see here what is the background. Our President Draupadi Murmu has utilized rarely invoked Article 143 of Indian Constitution to refer matters to Supreme Court. And these matters are concerning about timelines for governors and president in granting assent to the bills passed by state legislature. And what is Article 143? It allows the president to seek Supreme Court's opinion. It can get advice regarding legal or public importance or any doubts regarding constitution also. Now president can ask questions to Supreme Court under Article 143, guys. Okay, now let us see the details of this advice. So first question is about Article 200. What are the options available for governor under Article 200? Now Supreme Court said that governor can give assent. Second one is he can withhold or return or reconsideration of the reasons. And next one is reserve the bill for president's consideration. But they said that there is no option for indefinite holding. Now it removed this timeline by said that indefinitely for the long period. So governor should not withhold the bill. That is the first advice given by the Supreme Court. And next question is governor bound by Council of Ministers advice under Article 20? So Article 200. Under this Article 200, yes, this governor has to bind by the aid and advice of this Council of Ministers. Means the answer is no, because Article 200 is a discretionary power of governor, so that he should not listen to this. He may or may not listen to this advice of Council of Ministers, guys. And next one is, can timeline be imposed on governor under Article 200? Means again Supreme Court said that there is no rigid timeline. Earlier it said 3 months, but now it said no timeline. But as soon as possible, and the flexible timings they have to take and they have to give the assent. And this one is, can timelines be imposed on president under Article 201? Again on this president also there is no imposition of timeline to give assent. That is the thing which mainly said. And can a bill become a law without governor assent? Means no. Always we have to get governor assent, then only the bill will become an act. So these are the things that you have to remember, guys. Okay, now let us see the next image. So this image, it is about Gatka, Ghatka, very, very important. So in your art and culture, you will be seeing about different arts, crafts, dance forms, music, and there you will be studying even martial arts in India. And India is very, very famous for this martial arts, right? For example, I think you might know about this Kalari Payattu, Kalari. Like that, especially 6 people will do this martial arts. So this martial arts name is Gatka. It will be done by only 6. And as you all know that 6 are very, very famous for providing security and safety for our India. So majorly our army people are from Sikh community. That means they need to have good martial arts to protect themselves and as well as to protect us from terrorists, to provide security at our borders. So this is one martial arts which mainly is done by the Sikh guys. Very important. And Gatka, it is a traditional martial art form which associated with the Sikh gurus. Very important. And what they'll use swords, they'll use sticks, and they will learn this Gatka especially for self-control of their body. And actually this Gatka believed to have originated from 6th Sikh Guru. His name is Hargobind. So from that time onwards, this Gatka came into existence. And they adapted Kirpan for self-defense during this Mughal era. And next one here is, yeah, you have to remember this. So this Gatka evolved during the 6th Sikh Guru. But from this 10th Guru Gobind Singh, it was made compulsory for everyone to use weapons for self-defense. From 10th Guru onwards, it made compulsory, guys. And next one here is, even nowadays, it is getting lots of fame and name because of this sports category. And recently, they formed this Gatka Federation of India in 2008. From that time onwards, there is increased craze for this Gatka. And today it is used to showcase self-defense and as well as fighting skills, and even it is open to the people of all faiths and communities. Earlier it was only learned by the Sikhs, but now anyone who are wishing to learn this, they can learn this now. Okay, and say this article, guys. Caste identity influences how teachers judge students in Bihar public schools. So this article is very, very important. As you all know that in our constitution there are certain fundamental rights which mainly talks about right to equality, and there are certain articles which says that there should be no untouchability. Which article talks about this abolishment of untouchability? Article 17. And Article 14 says that there should be no discrimination based on caste, based on religion, based on sex, gender, whatever it may be, right? But is that right? Based on this caste, can teachers judge their performance in that too in public schools? Is that right? No. Okay, now let us see about this study, guys. A new research study released by Indian Institute of Management Bangalore, IIMB, found that teachers in this Bihar's public school often misjudge how well their students are performing, and these misjudgments vary sharply by their caste. So normally, if you see about your classroom, all are equal to a teacher. The teacher will be standing on the dais and she or he will be teaching whatever the knowledge they want to impart in you. So can they show discrimination based on caste? If you are belonging to the high caste, if they are giving more marks to you, will you accept it? No, right? There should be no caste-based discrimination. To remove this kind of discrimination based on caste, based on the social status, based on the economic status itself, in schools, they introduce this uniform system. So whatever the caste may be, whatever the economic status you are coming from, whichever the social group you belongs to, you have to wear the similar uniform, same color, same tie, same belt, same everything. Why? Because to remove the caste-based discrimination. But if this kind of caste-based discrimination is happening in the schools, can we go for development of the country at large? No, right? So that is the thing which mainly said here. So here this article is saying that when students from different caste groups score equally well to the standardized test, the perceptions of the teacher do not match the actual performance, with backward caste students consistently rated lower than they deserve. For example, there are higher caste students and lower caste students, say they got like 90% only. But even though the low caste students is rated lower compared to that of high caste student. So think about this, guys. It is like the evil that even in this 21st century also, which is continuing, that too in this public school. It is not even a private school. It is a government school in Bihar. The caste-based discrimination is happening. So now you have to think like what can be done. Is that right or not? If you are a principal of that school, if you find that caste-based discrimination is shown by the teachers in your school, so what will be your course of action? Because it is a part of social evil. Can we connect this article as part of attitude-based case study? In your attitude chapter from chapter 2, you will be getting case studies based on social evils only. I said, So here you may get this kind of case study in your examination. Think that how can you manage this kind of situation? How can you try to eliminate this caste-based discrimination? Because You have to uphold law. You have to always follow constitution. Either constitution is saying that you to do caste-based discrimination. No. Then if something is happening wrong before you, will you be silent? No. Now think about your course of action and let me know in the comment box. And offline students, please do write case study. Today I will be giving you the case study related to this case. Okay. Now let us see the next article. See the title, guys. Coastal security exercise begins in 2 Tamil Nadu districts. Please make a note. This exercise name is Sagar Kavach. Exercise name is Sagar Kavach. So this article is very important from your defense point of view, guys. Okay, whenever you are getting exercise, you have to see what is that exercise, in which area it has been done, whether it is Army, Navy or Air Force or Coast Guard exercise, and what is the aims and objectives of that exercise. Okay, now let me draw a map of Tamil Nadu, where it is located here, right? Tamil Nadu is sharing maritime boundary with Bay of Bengal, and here we have Indian Ocean. That means, can I say Tamil Nadu plays a very important role in Indo-Pacific region? Yes, now you guys tell me why we will do this kind of exercise across our coastal regions. Why? What is the thing? Just guess what we are going to get because of this exercise. Think and tell me. Online students, tell me in the comment box what we are going to be expected. Come on. Huh? Okay, we can control piracy. We can control drug trafficking, illegal drug trafficking, human trafficking. Okay, next. Can we improve safety and security in this Indian Ocean region? IOR. And next one is, we can also enhance freedom of trade and navigation in this region also. And even recently, what we studied, China came up with making of very small jellyfish like drone. Yeah, jellyfish like, yeah, drone only, not drone exactly. Jellyfish like AI. Okay, jellyfish like something, so that it also fitted with a small camera. It will be having increased surveillance of Indian movements in this Indian Ocean region, right? So because of this, obviously we also need to be get updated with our technology across this coast of our Tamil Nadu. So for that, we are going to have this kind of exercise in this maritime arena, guys. And now let us see this article clearly. It is a 2-day joint coastal security exercise, and the name of this exercise is Sagar Kavach. And we are going to assess preparedness and alertness of stakeholders involved in coastal security. Okay, so whoever involved in this coastal security, we are going to enhance preparedness of our India, and we are going to improve alertness of stakeholders because of this new kind of threats that we are going to get in this coastal regions, guys. Okay, this coastal security exercise is called as Sagar Kavach. It is half-yearly drill. That means for every 6 months, we are going to conduct this drill. Who will conduct this? Indian Coast Guard. The important aim, it is to assess and to validate our coastal security mechanism in our Indian Ocean region. And this exercise, it is designed to navigate complexities of coastal terrains, and we will focus on security mechanisms, and we are going to fortify our coastal defenses against threats from different countries, so that we can have strategic planning and coordination between different stakeholders and shareholders in this region. And this one here is, normally we have 2 types of participants in this exercise. First one is red forces. Second one is blue forces. So what these red forces will do? They will stimulate infiltration attempts. That means they are going to stop this kind of illegal activities in this coastal areas. And we have blue forces. So blue forces counteract these threats by establishing coastal security surveillance. So blue forces will provide the surveillance to try to stop this kind of illegal activities in this region, guys. Okay, next one here is, a fisherman also plays a very important role in coastal security, and in this exercise we are also going to take this fisherman into consideration, and we are going to encourage this fisherman to promptly report if there are any unfair or illegal, or if there is any doubted vessels which are coming into our area. So they are encouraged to report directly to this coastal security forces, guys, so that we can transform our valuable allies for our security. So these are the things. And now let us see the next article, guys. See the title. Bangladesh boat seized for illegal fishing in Indian waters. So where is this Bangladesh located, guys? Are we sharing boundary with Bangladesh? So here we have Bangladesh, right? So this is India. So which are the different Indian states sharing boundary with Bangladesh? Tell me in the comment box, online students. Which are the different states sharing boundary with Bangladesh? West Bengal, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura. Okay. Okay. So on the land, we have definite borders, guys. So if you see here, which country we have? Pakistan. Here we have China. So like that, if you are sharing land, then we can have a definite borders, so that we can go for building of fences. So recently in yesterday's class, we discussed that Manipur governor is scrutinizing fencing border between India and Manipur, right? So if we are having sharing this land, means we can have a definite borders, and we can go for fencing, whatever the cost it may be, to protect our country. We'll go for fencing across the international borders and land. So here we have Bay of Bengal, yes or no? So this country is sharing boundary with this Bay of Bengal, and India is also sharing boundary with Bay of Bengal. So how can we draw borders between this water of Bangladesh and as well as India? Is that possible? Can we go for having this kind of fencing in this water? Is that possible? Completely, whatever the thing that we are doing on this land is not perfectly possible, but we will be having other alternatives. But who will decide that what is the border between India and Bangladesh related to water? So we have one international organization. What is that international organization which tells about this border in waters? International Ocean. Come on, what is that? UNCLOS. UNCLOS. What is UNCLOS? United Nations Convention on Law of Seas. So we have UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on Law of Seas. It will decide the international borders in water, guys. So according to UNCLOS, we have different regions. I will show you that in Google. Okay, can you see this image, guys? So if you see this image, you can identify this is land, this is continental slow shelf, and we have continental deep, here we have continental rise, and this is seabed, like this. Okay, so actually if you see about this, from the baseline till 12 nautical miles, we have the region called as territorial sea. And from this territorial sea, again for 12 nautical miles, we have contiguous zone. That means from baseline till 24 nautical miles, we have this contiguous zone. And from territorial sea, if you see from this contiguous zone, and the remaining area will comes under like exclusive economic zone and high seas. So exclusive economic zone is nothing but from baseline. If you are going till 200 nautical miles, it is called as exclusive economic zone. And after this 200 nautical miles, it comes under high seas area. And this high seas area is called as global commons. Global commons is nothing but everyone will have their rights in this high sea region. But till this 200 nautical miles, that area will comes under the jurisdiction of that country, guys. So that is the thing you have to remember. And on this image, there was a question 2023 prelims, guys. What is baseline and this baseline is identified based on high tide and low tide. So what is this tide? What happens in this tide? There is increase or decrease of water level in the oceans, that is called as tides. So why this tides happens? Because of gravitational force of sun and moon. Okay, so because of this gravitational force of this moon and sun, this tides will happen. I'll show you the image. For example, let us say this is a sun, and around this sun our earth will move, right? So around this earth moon will move. Yes or no? So whenever earth is between this sun and moon, what happens? Sun's gravitational force will be there. Because of this, there will be the bulge which forms here, and even moon will be also having its own gravitational force. Like that, what happens? Whatever the water which is present around this earth will be forming in this way. So here in this region, what happens? There will be increased water level here, and this region decreasing of water level. So here, because of this increase or decreasing of water level, because of this gravitational force of sun and moon, they will form these tides. So based on this high tides and low tides, they decided this baseline. So from this baseline till 12 nautical miles territorial sea, and from here till 24 nautical miles contiguous zone, and from here till 200 nautical miles exclusive economic zone, beyond that high seas. So India will be having jurisdiction till this 200 nautical miles case. So now what happened is, in this exclusive economic zone, now this Bangladesh ship was found, and it is doing illegal fishing in our Indian waters. So water which is under this 200 nautical miles is called as Indian waters. In this Indian waters, this Bangladesh ship came and it is doing fishing. So because of this, we caught that. So already the question asked in UPSC. And in geography, there is a tendency of repeating of themes, guys. So you may get question regarding this image once again, and you have to be very clear about it. And now you may also get questions separately regarding this exclusive economic zone. So recently we discussed that our government of India got permission to exploitate polymetallic sulfides in Indian Ocean region. That is beyond our exclusive economic zone, right? That means you may get question regarding this exclusive economic zone this year in your prelims case. You have to focus on that. Okay, now let us see this article clearly. The Indian Coast Guard apprehended a Bangladeshi fishing vessel along 28 crew members. In that fishing boat, around 28 members were there, and they are illegally operating inside India's exclusive economic zone in northern Bay of Bengal. And as you all know that Yunus government is not favoring India, and Yunus government recently gifted one book to Pakistan General where they added all this northeastern part, right? And not only that, they are moving towards China. And we discussed what are the challenges between India and Bangladesh. So because of this, if Bangladeshi ship is doing some illegal fishing, will we accept it? No. So because of this, we got that. So if you say about some facts regarding this exclusive economic zone, it is a maritime zone which defined under United Nations Convention on Law of Sea, that is UNCLOS 1982. It gives the coastal state the special rights over exploration and use of marine resources in that zone up to 200 nautical miles from baseline, guys. So what are the rights that country will get under this exclusive economic zone? Please make a note, you may get question on this. First one is that country can explore, they can exploit natural resources. It may be living or non-living. Living is nothing but it is related to fishes, aquaculture, shrimps, seabed organisms, everything. Non-living is nothing but we have minerals in this region, so they can be exploited by that country. And this one is fisheries, fishes, shellfish, etc. They can go for oil and gas extraction, and they can go for identifying of minerals, and they can exploit minerals on the seabed, and they can also go for energy production from water, currents, winds. That is nothing but we have tidal energy. Okay. And what country cannot have? So here you may get question like consider the following statements regarding special exclusive economic zone, and there will be a combination of sovereign rights of a country and the rights which are not there. They'll give both two combination. They'll ask you which of the above statements are right or incorrect. So if you see the country which is not having any control in this exclusive economic zone are, first one is freedom of navigation. Ships can pass through it. And next one here is a freedom of overflight. Other country flights can flew over our exclusive economic zone. And next one is other countries can also lay submarine cables and as well as pipelines with only some restrictions. On this, the country will be having limited rights in this exclusive economic zone, guys. And next article here is over 50% of cases pending in juvenile justice boards amid staff shortage. So what is article talking about? Recently we are talking about lots of articles regarding judiciary pendency of cases. Recently we discussed about district courts. Recently we discussed about high courts and supreme courts. Again now we are going to discuss about this juvenile justice board. And recently we discussed about even tribunals also, right? In tribunals also, there is no proper effective working of tribunals because of increasing of government's interference, and Supreme Court cancelled this Tribunals Act in yesterday's class only, right? So you are getting more number of articles regarding judiciary. So there is a very high chance of getting your mains and prelims questions regarding this judiciary this time, guys. You should not leave this judiciary even a single line in your Lakshmikant. You have to revise that more. Okay, in this way you can expect which questions will come in your examination. Okay, so here you have to understand what is this juvenile. What is the meaning of a juvenile? Have you heard about this word juvenile? Okay, it is related to child case. How many years of guy can comes under juvenile? Less than 18. If any children who is less than 18 years of age but they committed any crime, they will comes under this juvenile, and they will be not treated as adult, and for them there will be separate courts, juvenile courts, and they will have separate juvenile justice board, and for them we have separate juvenile act on which they will be giving punishments. Okay, so this article is saying that in this juvenile justice boards also lots of pendency of cases. What is the reason? There is shortage of staff. So if you see about these juveniles are children or young people who are below the age of full criminal responsibility of adulthood. That means who are less than age of 18 years. And the exact range depends upon the country. In India, it is 18 guys. Okay. So if you're talking about juvenile justice, juveniles or minors who commit crimes, they are typically handled by separate juvenile justice system instead of adult courts. Adult courts will not try them, will not give the judgment for them. We have juvenile justice system. What is the reason here is we have to focus on rehabilitation rather than harsh punishment. Even the juveniles were arrested and kept in separate jails also, they will be focusing on rehabilitation of them, and they will be also having the education, they will be learning skills, everything will happen there. So there will be no harsh punishment in this juveniles. Okay. And if you're talking about what is this juvenile justice board, it mainly created under Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act of 2015. And this bench has all powers of criminal court under Code of Criminal Procedure. And what it will do, so this board will have even psychologists and even sociologists, and they will decide whether the trial or offense done by that age group of 16 to 18 years should be seen as adults or not. So even I think you might know about this Nirbhaya gang rape case. In that Nirbhaya gang rape case, one convicted was juvenile at that time. At that time, this board decided whether we have to treat that guy as children or adult. But whatever the crime they did is heinous crime. So because of this, they treated him as adult and they were sentenced to death, right? So here, who will be having authority whether to decide that crime did by a children or adult who are between this 16 to 18 years age? So because this age is like a confusing age, whether we have to consider them as children or adult, again there is a big doubt. So only regarding the 16 to years age, if anyone committed this crimes or any serious things, then who will decide? In that, both psychologists and sociologists will analyze what is the crime they did, and based on that they will decide whether they have to consider them as child or adult. And the members of this board will be selected by a selection committee by retired judges of High Court case, and the members of this juvenile justice board are trained by state government itself, and the tenure of these people who are working in this juvenile justice board have 3 years of tenure, and they can appointed consecutively for not more than 2 terms. Okay. And there is one article, guys, say this: India's fisheries and aquaculture, its promising course. So this article is talking about how our Indian fishing sector and aqua sector is working and what are the problems we are having, and it is giving a way for like what can be done, guys. So if you see this data regarding this aquaculture and fisheries in India, according to FAO, that is nothing but Food and Agriculture Organization, came up with one report. It said that Indian fisheries produced 92.3 million tons of fishes in 2022, guys, while aquaculture reached around 130.9 million tons. And India contributed 10.23 million tons of aquatic animals, and because of this data, India became second largest aquatic producer in the world. In the world itself, India is the second largest aquatic producer. Okay, so because of this article is saying that we have to come up with some changes in our aquaculture. So why recently we celebrated World's Fisheries Day on today is World's Fisheries Day, guys. November 21, every year we'll celebrate this World Fisheries Day. So on this day, now Food and Agriculture Organization called that, yes, whatever the India's commitment to India's Blue Revolution, which mainly supports Government of India theme, that is India's Blue Transformation, strengthening value addition in seafood exports. So now this year, the theme of World Fisheries Days is we have to focus on value addition for exports. So we are producing lot, and India became the second largest producer of aquaculture in our country. We got that status, but now where we are lagging? We are lagging behind in exports. As you all know that recently what happened between India and US started imposing of 50% of tariffs on Indian goods. Which sector got affected most? The sea exports from state of AP got affected more, right? So if we are having this kind of uncertainties across the world, can we ensure proper exports of seafood to other countries? No. Even if you are producing more, if you are not having the markets to sell, can we make blue economy? No. So for that, this article is saying that we have to focus on value addition in seafood exports. So what this article is saying that, okay, see this last paragraph, you can understand. So what should be the key priorities of our Government of India is, we have to go for strengthening of certification. Recently, we discussed one article. What is that? AMSC certification for our aquaculture related products. So because of this, we are going to reach other markets. So like that, we have to strengthen certification, and we have to go for traceability and digital tools, and we have to go for enhanced competitiveness in domestic and as well as global markets. So because of this, what happens? We can ensure sustainable aquatic food system in our country, and we can ensure food and nutritional security, and we can reduce environmental and climate footprints, and we can guide India's blue revolution towards resilient and inclusive future. So while you are reading your editorials, especially you have to see this last paragraphs, guys. Why? Because this last paragraphs will give you some keywords that you can use in your answer so that you can improve the value of your answer. So here you can see keywords like food and nutritional security. That is one keyword. Next one is environmental and climate footprints. That is also one important keyword. Next one is it will provide resilient and inclusive future. So you have to use this kind of keywords, strong words in your answer, so that you can get extra half or 1 mark in your answers, guys. Okay, so see this and follow this for your answers. So this is about this article, guys. Just see about data regarding aquaculture and fishing in India, how much is contributing to our GDP. And next you have to see how government is focusing on blue revolution in India, and see about the schemes related to fishing sector in our country. And next see about challenges. And now you have to add this way forward, guys. Okay. Okay, let us see the prelims practice questions. I came up with two questions. First one is with reference to Article 143 of Indian Constitution. Which of the following statements are right? Okay, first one is under Article 143, Supreme Court is constitutionally obliged to give its advisory opinion to President in all cases. So in your polity, they will be using extreme words, all. Keep this in your mind. All cases refer to it. And this one is under Article 143, subclass 2, the Supreme Court may decline to answer questions referred to it by President. And this one is advisory opinion tendered by Supreme Court under Article 143 is binding. So see this and tell me the answer which of the above statements are right. So just refer your Lakshmikant once case. And this one is with reference to this Gatka martial art. Consider the following statements. First one is it is a traditional martial art of Sikhs and closely associated with Nihang warriors. It is right. Next one here is the practitioners of this Gatka are prohibited from cutting their hair as per Rihat Vadia. That means they should not cut their hair. And next one is Gatka was formally recognized by UNESCO as intangible cultural heritage of humanity. So you'll be getting this kind of difficult statements in your question, guys. You have to have good knowledge regarding this tangible and intangible culture heritage sites in India. So if you have knowledge about that, you can do this answer, guys. And even if you're sure about one statement, you can go for elimination. So you have to learn how you can eliminate these statements, guys. Okay. So online students, please let me know the answers for these two questions in the comment box. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and please do like this class and share this class. And don't forget about this online webinar of anthropology optional by UPSC ranker All India rank 588 at 10 a.m. guys. If you want to attend the session on free, so please do register. Registration form link is given in description box. And also you can follow us on our Telegram channel where we are providing PDF of this class. And also you can follow us on our Instagram page where we are providing prelims question with answer, mains question with model answer, and also current affairs in short, guys. Don't miss that. Thank you so much, guys, for watching.